I did just also want to ask you about another related adjacent issue to the Twitter account, and that was an email that went out, I think it was about a month ago, asking for donations for Howie Hawkins. As I understand it, he was a friend or knew Marlon Ettinger, and I don't know if there was some miscommunication, but when you were on my show last time, you said you didn't know who Howie Hawkins was. Something else I wanted to ask you about today was Howie Hawkins. Are you endorsing him?
No, I don't know much about him, and so I haven't endorsed anybody else in that regard.
Do you know who Howie Hawkins is?
Well, he sent me some emails, but I haven't read them. I've just been so busy with so many emails that I get. So, to my knowledge, no, I haven't endorsed him, and I don't know what he represents in that regard.
Okay, because there was an email that went out from your campaign or addressed from your campaign that was asking people to donate to the Howie Hawkins campaign. Did you know about that email?
No, I didn't. And you have to understand that my campaign was run by teenagers, and on a couple of occasions they can endorse who they want as individuals. But they don't necessarily bind me on any endorsements in that regard. Have you met Howie Hawkins since that time? Yes, I have, and I was very impressed with him. And his problem is he has to get the nomination of the Green Party, and so I indicated here again, endorsing after meeting with him and talking with him about the issues. I said I would endorse him and hope that he would win the nomination for the Green Party. Now, I can do that because in the last election, I voted for the Green Party. I voted for Jill Stein. I couldn't stomach Hillary and obviously Trump at the time. So I felt that Jill Stein was the best alternative. I realistically knew that she couldn't win, but here again, it's a point of principle. Even if you can't win, you should try to vote properly and for what you believe in. That's just the nature of what a good citizenship should be. Okay, but I guess I'm a little confused. Why would you endorse him if he hasn't won the nomination yet? Like, have you looked at the other candidates who are running for the Green Party nomination? No, well, because I'm first off, I'm not familiar with the other candidates, but I am familiar with Howie, and so I was persuaded that he should get the nomination. So if my endorsement helps him get the nomination, then that's exactly what I intend to do. Now, I have a right to do that because I voted for Jill Stein in the last election, and so I'm voting for Howie to get the nomination. And depending upon who's the nominee for the Democratic Party, I may have to vote Green again. Howie Hawkins was actually on my show several months ago, and he actually made a little bit of news at the time because a few things that he said were a little controversial. One of them was regarding Russiagate. He seemed to adopt the mainstream Russiagate talking point. So it's really surprised me, actually, coming from a Green Party candidate, because you would think after what happened to Jill Stein and how she was smeared, that a Green Party candidate wouldn't necessarily say that, there's direct evidence that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians. And he was also saying that he advised Jill Stein not to go to Russia because he knew it was going to be used as propaganda.
I'd just be interested overall, what are your thoughts on the way that Jill Stein has been treated by the corporate media following the 2016 election?
Well, I was part of an advisory group to Jill, and I advised her not to go to that RT thing.
Why?
And in fact, well, I thought it was a setup. RT is, Russian propaganda. There's a lot of good programming on it, and they don't really interfere with that. Chris Hedges, Larry King, I don't know if Larry's still on there, Tom Hartman. But there's also, when the news comes from central headquarters, they get all kinds of crazy conspiracy people on there. Old LaRouche people, the Lyndon LaRouche,
right.
Conspiracy people and others. So, the media is, they're following this Russiagate thing, which I think is serious. I think Trump ought to be impeached. I think it's obvious he saw collusion. He did collude, him and his son and his son-in-law, and it's all over that first volume of the Mueller report. It's all over there. I mean, when people say, "Oh, it showed no collusion," no, it didn't. It says, Mueller says right away, "I didn't talk about collusion. I talked about narrow legal definition of conspiracy. Plus, I can't indict the president according to this OLC letter in the Justice Department." He just laid out the evidence for prosecutors, which has to be Congress. And so I think that's all serious. But, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, from their different points of view, they're totally obsessed with that. And that's all about getting eyes on their screen to sell their advertising.
He also had, some words about Julian Assange that were somewhat critical about him giving advice to the Trump administration. So again, I don't know, might it be worth looking at the other Green Party candidates to see if there's a better Green Party candidate out there for the nomination, or did his meeting with you just impress you so much that you want to back him regardless?
Well, no, not regardless. And here again, I did not hear when I was discussing him, he was making these statements that you just recited. And here again, I compliment you on your thoroughness in this regard. And so maybe I should have been more thorough in my conversations with him, but he obviously didn't make these statements that you were able to extract from him. Now, with respect to, I don't want to spend all my time going through the candidates for the Green Party at their convention. I don't know the number that they have. I don't know who they are. I didn't know Howie until he made an effort to meet with me. There's no other candidates at the Green Party that have made that effort. And so here again, at my age, all I can do is respond with the body of knowledge I have at my disposition. And sometimes that body of knowledge may be inaccurate and wrong. And that's the reason why I'm tolerant of what I consider good candidates who have some little mud on their shoes intellectually. Well, that's because I've had mud on my shoes in the course of my candidacy.
I actually asked you last time you were on the show about Jesse Ventura, and he had commented to me that he was thinking about running or might run.
So will you ever run for president? Will you seek the Green Party nomination?
I don't know. You'll find out in the spring. Okay. Why would I do it now? Wait till the Pikers are gone.
Okay. Well,
Come
Governor,
on, it's all about tactics, man. It's tactics. That's how you win. It ain't time now. It's too early.
I sincerely hope that you do run for president this year, and I think it would be awesome if you did.
Well, let me just leave you with this. What do you think about a ticket? Imagine this ticket. Governor Jesse Ventura and Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
That sounds great. I would love to see that.
He quits the Democratic Party and joins me with the Greens.
Let's make it happen. Again, Jill Stein isn't running this year, so the Green Party is having a contentious.
Don't hold your breath, but it's far too early. You got to at least get in the year of the election before you worry about that stuff.
With respect to Jesse, I respect him. I think he's a very interesting person and has taken some very interesting positions. So I would not. I think that if he were to jump into the Green race, he would have an edge, because he is nationally known as a political figure and a progressive figure. And I've recognized that he, like others, have called for a new commission to look into, not a political commission, I might say, to look into the 9/11, because that's when all of this perpetual war locked in. And that was because the neocons. And so who are the beneficiaries of 9/11? It obviously was the neocons in the military-industrial complex. Now, I could go into some of the details about Building 7 and others, but suffice it to say that if you really have a skepticism and a suspicion, all you got to do is follow the money. Who benefited from 9/11? Not the American people by any stretch of the imagination. Who benefited was the military-industrial complex and the neocons who were its advocates.